We got a comment on the Professional Left YouTube page that they wanted a video of us around a kitchen table talking. They thought that just having podcasts up was not what they were expecting. They wanted more of us. So as a compromise, because Driftglass does not show up on video.
He's a vampire.
He's a vampire. This is Middle Child. Hey! And Middle Child is going to model some hats for me today. And we are going to show you pussy hats that I have knit and talk about pussy hats and knitting. And you're going to model them, right?
Right.
Right. Okay, the first thing we want to talk about, and we're assuming no knowledge of knitting or fashion or design. And so we wanted to show you a couple of regular hats before we talk about what makes the pussy hat so special. So these are regular hats. This one is knit in a fluffy single ply wool. It has ear flaps on it. I made this for youngest child, but it's being worn by Middle Child right now. Nice colors. Yeah. It's felted a little bit. Single ply yarn tends to bunch up when you wash it and turn into kind of a felt, and that's what this hat has started to do. The fibers rub up against each other and become kind of felted. This is a sock yarn hat, and it is lightweight but yet still warm. And as you can see, these hats have a gather in the top. See how that's like a little starburst? Isn't that nice? You gather them by knitting stitches together in a numerical order, every 6 stitches and then every 5 stitches and then every 4 stitches, etc., around the top of the hat until you get to a little point where you can either knit a what they call an I-cord and tie it off, or you can just combine the stitches together like on this one. It's nice that these are variegated because, these are variegated because you can see what happens with the circles, the concentric circles. And on this one, I just joined them all together with a strip of yarn, the end of the yarn, and sewed it up, and it makes a little star in the middle of the hat. So these are traditionally, this is how you would ordinarily make a hat, is you would have these gathers in the top, and it helps to make it shape like a head. It is, I would say, knitting 202 instead of knitting 101. A beginner can do it, but needs to learn how to do it, and it's not involved, but it's not for the person who has never knit anything. The idea of gathering might be your second or third lesson in knitting. So the beauty of the pussy hat is there is no gathering, shaping, any kind of activity with the needles except knit and purl. That's it. You make a rectangle. I'm just pretending this is the pink piece of knitting. You make a rectangle with ribbing coming up to here. Then you keep knitting in stockinette, which is knit 1 row, purl 1 row. This is knit 2 stitches, purl 2 stitches. So it ribs. Then you knit 1 row, purl 1 row, and you get this smooth knitting. Most sweaters you pull out of your closet are made in stockinette. Knit on the right side, purl on the wrong side. And you keep going and you make a rectangle. See, there's no seam up here, it's just a rectangle. Come down the other side and make the same number of inches of ribbing on the other side, and then you fold it in half. And you have the ribbing around the opening of the hat, like this. There's the ribbing. I'm going to turn this inside out and show you that I have done a seam on either side. I've just folded the rectangle in half and then sewn up the sides so that when you turn it inside out, let me put this one on. And when the lovely thing about pussy hat, you put it on and you've got cat ears.
Oh wait, you roll it up.
You roll it up. Yeah, there you go. And you got your little pussy cat ears. And we know that the pussy hat is a pussy cat hat, and also is taking back the dirty word for pussy and insisting on that women's bodies belong to women. So that's the case. And so this is a beautiful hat. This is not the first pussy hat I knit, but this one is what most beginning knitters wore to the Women's March, this kind of hat. This is Simply Soft by Karen. It's a cheap acrylic and washable. It's bright pink. They ran out of this in a lot of stores, and it's a fairly big gauge of yarns, US 8s, I think it was knit on, which is a larger needle than I usually use, frankly, but it works up fast, and you don't need a lot of knitting experience to make one, and that's why you saw millions of them at the Women's March in January and all over the country. Not only can a beginning knitter make one with fairly low expense because the yarn is cheap, but a experienced knitter can churn out a lot of these, and a lot of knitters in preparation for the Women's March knit, 10 of them in order to provide them to other people. And that was one of the beauties of the Pussy Hat Project, was you could knit some to send to Washington and people could pick one up if they were not knitters. Right, so this is the Pussy Hat that I knit and wore to the Women's March.
Should we do a comparison?
Sure. That one's solid pink. This one has a rainbow thread to it. This is Jelly Beans. It's, again, acrylic yarn. Usually I buy this stuff for kids' sweaters, baby sweaters that I'm giving to charity. It has a rainbow thread through it, which I thought was kind of cool. And it is acrylic yarn, washable. Again, you're not looking for expense. You're looking for churning them out.
Practicality.
And practicality. Yes. All right. And brightness. I mean, I think the bright color is really great. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I have another. I showed you this one. This is Croy sock yarn. This is also Croy sock yarn. And again, this is a much finer gauge. I think I knit this one on 3s as opposed to 8s. This is US 8. This is US 3, so it's a lot tighter. It's knit the same gauge as a sock would be. And I like the colors. Having a little purple in there is fun. And this is a much lighter weight. Because it's sock yarn, it is wool, but it has some nylon in it. And it's washable. It will not felt if you wash it in gentle cycle and dry flat. So practicality is important. Then...
You went a little crazy then.
Well, no, I didn't go a little crazy. I will show you this picture. The fall 2017 Missoni show took on the Pussy Hat. And Missoni is a designing house that specializes in beautiful knits in multicolor yarns. You can purchase this Pussy Hat. It's a Missoni Pussy Hat for $190. $190. So I looked at that and I said, no. So the first one I made was this one. And I decided to duplicate the Missoni hat process. These are high-end wool yarns. So this is Malabrigo, I believe. And the top is Rowan double knitting, washable wool. And what Missoni did, what the designer Missoni did, is sort of did a mashup of the Pussy Hat with the flat top and a regular hat with the gathered top. And they gathered the top of the hat. There are actual, you can see that where I have gathered it, and it makes these ears curl up a little more. It's just a design feature that they did to give it more, to make it worth $190. Okay. I do like the rainbow around the base of the hat and still using the pink at the top. You want to put that one on? And that is, that's a cool hat. And that's a hat that, expensive yarn. Well, the Rowan DK isn't that expensive, but this, runs probably, somebody gave me this yarn. I'd have to look up what it is. But some of these multicolored yarns run $22, $23 a skein or more. So, but someone gave me that skein, so that is that I made another one then because I had a grab bag rainbow bulky yarn, which is washable wool, that I got out of a grab bag. And this is from Knit Picks. It's their bulky, I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's their bulky rainbow wool. I only had one ball of it, so of course I'm going to make a hat out of it. And then again, I used some bulky acrylic, and this is Joann Fabrics unlabeled bulky acrylic. Okay, this is very, that's the bulkiest one I made, and that's probably knit on 10s, I would say. Quick knit, very quick, and it's heavy.
It's heavier.
It's heavier, yeah. But I like it because the bulky ones make the best ears. You get these big bat ears if you make it the weight big. It's really good. Yeah, I understand now why people make them bulky, because you flatten those out like that, and there you go. That's it. See, those are just terrific. Finally, now I'm experimenting, and this is just an experiment. This is Kool-Aid dyed wool. You can see the kind of subtle colors in there of the pinks and purples. That is black cherry and grape Kool-Aid stirred into heated up vinegar. And then you cool it down and put the yarn in it. And if the yarn is 100% wool, it's like a magic trick. And your children would love to see this. It's non-toxic. It doesn't make a mess. Put Kool-Aid in some vinegar. And then if you have some 100% white wool, you put the wool in the vinegar, and it will absorb, the wool will absorb every single ounce of pigment that's in that water, and the water will turn clear. The vinegar will turn clear, and your wool will absorb the pigment. So it's like if you can do it in sort of a big glass beaker or a bowl that the children can see the magic of the wool absorbing all of the color out of the vinegar, that's a fun thing to do. And then I took some scrap yarn that I had of greens and dark reds and purples, and this is a little ball of single ply something I had at the bottom. And I was just playing with this. I did this in the round, so there are no seams on the side. I have no seams on the side, but because I made a tube to make this hat, I had to seam the top. And I was trying to see if making a seam at the top would change the look of the ears. And it really doesn't. The ears show up. But I don't like this stripe here on the pussy hat. From now on, I will make pussy hats have a solid or a semi-solid from the ribbing upward, because that takes away from the overall shape like this. If you see the feature of this hat is the shape of the ears, not the colors. So I won't do this one again.
Did you dye that?
I dyed the wool, yeah.
Okay.
Years ago. But it's Kool-Aid dyed. Yeah. Kool-Aid is, unsweetened Kool-Aid, is probably 85% dye. That's what it's doing. It's coloring sugar water. So if you dump some Kool-Aid, and Kool-Aid comes in blue and green, and, dump some Kool-Aid in a soup pot of warmed up vinegar so that it dissolves. Let it cool a little bit. You don't want to put wool in hot vinegar because it will felt, like I was telling you about the felting. Hot water and agitation makes wool, the fibers bind together, and it becomes felty. Instead of you seeing individual stitches, it just mushes together. But if you cool it down, have it be kind of cold, and then you just stick some loose wool into the vinegar, you'll get clear vinegar, and all of the color will go into the yarn, which is really fun. And it, like I said, if the kid puts some of that in his mouth, he's getting a mouthful of vinegar and Kool-Aid. So you might think that's the unsweetened Kool-Aid's totally toxic to your child, but Pussy Hat pattern is at pussyhatproject.com. It's free. You can download the PDF for free. I'm not associated with them, but it worked. It was a political movement, and is still a political movement that really was successful in getting lots of people to wear a uniform for peace and justice, and regardless of what your issue was, to protest and resist right after the inauguration.
We will link this in the description, the pattern.
And the beauty of it is, or the sad part of it is that I knew at the time that I made my first one that it would not be the last time I was going to wear a pussy hat, because we were going to need it again. The resistance goes on. So you can wear them to every event you want to, and people will know who you are. So if you have a picture of a pussy hat that you would like to share with us, you can share it with me on Twitter at Bluegal. I'm also Bluegal on Ravelry. And where else am I Bluegal? Is that it? I think that's it.
I don't
also,
know you.
We're also Pro Left Podcast on Twitter, so you can go there. We'd love to see your pussy hats and hear what you think. And you can comment below and let us know what you think too. And I'm so glad Middle Child has a tripod and a...
I was prepared.
She was prepared. She's been wanting to do this for a long time.
I just think that we should, comment below if you want more Bluegal and Middle Child vlogs.
Yeah, because, she's got a lot to say. And
I have a lot to say.
She didn't get much time to talk today.
Nope. I was working. Being a model, it's a hard work.
Yeah, there you go. Good job. Thank you.